We will pod you. Right, there we go. There's a forced introduction. You've got pod on your face. You're a big disgrace. Other things I've been told to say. Pod. Welcome to the What Culture podcast. I'm your host, Ash, and we are with Simon.
Hello.
And we are with James.
Hello.
And we're going to talk about Bohemian Rhapsody, if you couldn't tell by that amazing introduction. So let's just jump right into it. We're going to talk about Freddie Mercury film. What was it like, guys?
Whoa! For a start, you're not allowed to call it the Freddie Mercury film.
It's a Freddie Mercury film.
It's a
the
Queen
film.
It's a very much a Freddie Mercury film.
Queen, Brian May and Roger Taylor in particular would be very upset with that.
Yeah.
That's why...
They've made it a Queen film.
They did. They forced it to be.
And that's why it's not as good as it should be.
Exactly.
But we'll talk about that.
Okay. I should preface this by saying I haven't seen the film, but both Simon and James have, so we're just doing like a discussion where I direct my questions at them and they give me...
I'm glad you were so insistent that it's a Freddie Mercury film then.
Yeah, exactly. I was just wanting to see if I got a reaction, and I did. So, tell us why it isn't a Freddie Mercury film, and why it would be better if it was.
So, the story... the background to this film is that originally it was going to be... Sacha Baron Cohen was going to be Freddie Mercury.
Yes.
Way back when. It seems like years and years ago when it was
it was like in development for a long time.
It was when Sacha Baron Cohen was a film star. That's how long ago that was. Yeah. And apparently, allegedly, he dropped out because of creative differences, because Queen wanted to make one version of the film and he wanted to make the other version of the film, which was more about Freddie Mercury's life and his personal life. And Queen wanted to make it all about them, to the point where they wanted Freddie Mercury to die halfway through, and then the rest of the film to be about their reaction to him dying.
Indulgent.
Which is very self-indulgent. It's actually very Queen. When you think about
very
it.
Brian May.
It is, yeah. So then he dropped out, and Bryan Singer came in when Sacha Baron Cohen was still involved, and cast Rami Malek, which is ridiculous because you would think that he would be the first one cast, given how amazing he is. He's effectively a replacement. Anyway. So then, that he was cast, and then we get this different film entirely, which is actually about Queen much more, and it doesn't really go into the depth about the dark side of the band, which you would more like to see, I think.
Ooh, dark side sounds good. No, I remember it being sold on the whole Sacha Baron Cohen and it being Freddie Mercury. Like, I remember it being sold on Freddie Mercury for a while. But it's more of a Queen film, you say, more that sort of vibe.
Yeah, so I think Sacha Baron Cohen had ideas of really getting into the theatricality of Freddie Mercury, but also the dark side of his life, as Simon says. This focuses on the band's formation and how Freddie Mercury comes to join the band, and then kind of it's like a greatest hits of them writing all their biggest songs and getting them on the radio.
It's like Forrest Gump, but for
Queen
fans.
Okay. Yeah. Well, that sounds good to me.
It hurdles through lots of big events without really going into anything in great depth.
Yeah, kind of like it's like, oh, they had a fight, and it's like, well, they're a rock band, of course they did. And it doesn't really like show much that you wouldn't have already known or
no.
Yeah.
And the funny thing is, it doesn't show things that anybody who's a Queen fan knows some notorious stories about Queen, like the stories of them hosting these parties where they famously hired midgets.
Little people.
I'm sorry, but no. In the film, they literally mention that word to carry around trays of cocaine and to basically have these Elton John style parties, which he was famous for as well. So it'll be interesting to see his film, which won't have those in either. And those stories aren't in the film. You get little snippets of them. So there are parties, but the parties weren't held by Queen in this universe. They were held by Freddie Mercury, and Queen just came along, and to the point where they are sitting in the back drinking tea with their wives,
miserable.
being like, "Oh, this is now a sort of thing," and you're like, "Mate, I know Brian May wasn't like that. I know Roger Taylor wasn't like that." But we get this version where Freddie Mercury is like the bad influence on them, and they're just normal guys who happen to be a rock band.
Is there like lots of other liberty taken with the film? Because I know you mentioned the party scene to me before, and we were both like, what? But is there anything else that you know is like categorically not really what happened that stands out as an obvious choice?
I think they're just... It's more like a sanitized version, so it isn't untruths. It's just they've left out things.
Nice bleached, shiny truths.
Yeah, and I think they've sort of... Like, I don't really know the entire full story of how the lead up to Live Aid, where Freddie came back from doing his solo stuff. But I would almost guarantee that it didn't happen the way it happens in the film, where... the band blame him, make him come and say sorry, and he basically comes cap in hand to them.
Yeah.
That may have been partly true, but it looks a lot like they're saying this was all Freddie's fault.
Yeah.
It wasn't us at all.
It's definitely how the other members of Queen remember that
yeah,
happening.
it is. Yeah, I would say so.
How would you guys say that the music plays into it then? Because obviously Queen are about the music, it's a film about their music and that sort of thing. How do you think that
Yeah, I think the music is one of the best things about this film. You know, you're going to hear pretty much all of the Queen hits that I think everyone knows, most people like. And they use it really well, I think, especially in Live Aid, which is the best thing to the film.
Yeah.
They also say things like the creation of Bohemian Rhapsody and how insane it was to try and do that kind of operatic song for a rock band, and how the record company didn't want to play it, and there's a great Wayne's World reference in there as well, which Simon will tell you all about.
Yes. So Mike Myers has a cameo because I'm almost certain it's because he was in Wayne's World. And he's a major Queen fan. So he plays the record producer whose name I have completely forgotten.
Yeah.
Who greenlit their album, One Night in. Wherever it's called.
Not One Night with Queen.
Yes.
One Night at the Opera.
A Night at the Opera, that's
there
it,
we go.
of course. Good,
we have
good professional expertise here. He said yes to that with his arm up his back. He was like, okay, I'll let you do that. And then he was played Bohemian Rhapsody, and he was like, right, this can't be played on the radio. It's 6 minutes long. All songs are 3 minutes long. And said, do it my way. You have to play... I Love My Car, which is the worst song that Queen have ever done. It was Roger Taylor's song. And Queen were like, no, right, we're going. You might have a contract. We might have a contract with you, but we do what we want. We are Queen.
Yeah.
And he said, this is Mike Myers playing this character, says, no teenagers are ever going to bang their heads to this song in their cars, which is obviously a Wayne's World reference, because that is exactly what happens in Wayne's World. And that's basically the only reason why Mike Myers is in it. Why Mike Myers is...
He's literally cast for that reference.
Yeah. And it's not like it works anymore.
The thing is,
line was never probably actually said, just sort of slotted in.
Yeah, and you can't even tell it's Mike Myers.
No, it doesn't look like him, no. So. He slips a little bit, but he's really good. Like, he was in Inglourious Bastards, and his accent in that was a little bit ropey, from what I remember. But in this one, he's playing like... I think it's a Manchester sort of area, but he's really good. It's like he's had really good training to do that.
Speaking of accents,
yes,
Littlefinger,
yes,
Aidan Gillen,
oh, no.
yes, that is some accent.
It is, as always.
As always, yeah.
He's always bringing something. I
don't think he knows how to use his natural voice anymore.
I don't think he has a natural voice anymore. Everything I've heard him in, it's very interesting.
You have to go back to Queer as Folk, I think, to when he had his... What is his natural accent? He's Irish.
He's like Northern Irish.
Yeah. So with Rami Malek taking over the role, being the new guy and everything, is he a good... I know you say that he just slots in. He looks really good. Does he play out as well? Are all the actors in it good? See if we've got dodgy accents, we've got this, that and the other.
I think the casting is one of the
unreal.
Best parts of this film, and Malek especially is astounding. When the film isn't working so well, he carries it, he elevates it. He is Freddie Mercury, basically. Apart from the singing, which he doesn't do himself. But
actually, I thought
I'm getting actually
that he didn't. Sorry, I'm going to mansplain at you. I thought that he did nothing, no singing at all, and I thought it was all recordings of Freddie, including like rehearsal recordings. But in fact, it wasn't. It was another guy came in and did some singing who sounds loads like Freddie Mercury, and also Rami Malek did do some of it. He was trained to do some singing, and some of the high notes are him. He said it on the radio. I mean, he might be lying, just to serve himself. But I don't think
Oscar
he would.
Push. Yeah.
I think that the performance is unbelievable, to the point where it's probably too good to win an Oscar, because it's like the Oscars don't like people who mimic very much. They like performances, and this is such a like. It's like watching Freddie Mercury that they won't.
They're just gonna forget. They're gonna
they won't give him it. And the story, usually when you have things like that, like Alan Turing with Benedict Cumberbatch, if the story is or the Danish Girl with Eddie Redmayne and the other one that he did, Theory of Everything,
which he won an Oscar for.
Exactly. No, that's what I'm saying is in that one in particular, the story has more dramatic weight than this one does. This one's more just like a mimic, whereas those ones were slightly
But
different.
then Gary Oldman last year.
That's true, yeah. So maybe they've changed their tune, but I don't think the Oscars are going to like this because it's too much of a popular film. It's like it's more like Mamma
what's the
Mia
popular
than
movie category. That's been bitched hasn't it?
I actually this film could probably suffer from that.
Well, talking about dramatic weight and all that sort of fun stuff, you mentioned a scene that you were desperate to talk about. You'll know what this is.
It isn't even a scene. It is one shot.
One shot.
The greatest shot of the year and possibly of all time.
Can I say a cock? Is that allowed?
Well, it's a cock.
You've said it. You've said it now.
You've said it now.
I mean, they can bleep it. I don't know.
Yeah, no.
So we're talking about a cock. That was all the information I was given.
Yes.
So what is
I teased lots of people by talking about this.
You teased people with
my mention of cocks. There's a bit where they're at a farm recording Bohemian Rhapsody because they wanted to be taken away from everything, and it was a good place to record it. And in the trailer, it actually has a little bit of this scene where it says Freddie tells Roger Taylor to do the operatic bit, and he sings the Galileos from it, which I'll let you demonstrate if you'd like to right now.
Galileo!
Yes, exactly like that. That's perfect.
It's like watching the film.
It is like watching the film. And just it has Freddie saying that he's going to do it. And they're like, okay, we'll do that. It's after Brian May's playing his guitars. I don't know why I did this either. Just show you what a guitar is. And it cuts to Roger Taylor. It's about to cut to Roger Taylor in the recording studio to sing. And instead, it cuts to outside where, like, on the farm, and there's a cockerel on the wall. And it sort of zooms in on the cockerel. And the cockerel goes to crow to do cock-a-doodle-doo. And Roger Taylor's voice singing Galileo comes out the cockerel's mouth. And it is the single greatest thing I've ever seen in my life. It's the stupidest edit, the most unnecessary thing that's in a film. And I fell about laughing. I nearly fell off my seat. It was so good. Even if this film was terrible, for that scene I would have told everybody to go and see it.
Well, I'm glad that I had.
How upset are you that that's what that was?
I'm quite
after
upset.
all of yesterday when I was sick.
I feel a bit emotional.
You did hype it quite differently.
But it's so brilliant.
I did.
It's so good.
But you made it sound like a very different scene.
I know. I did.
God. Well, that's clearly Simon's favourite bits. What was your favourite part of this movie? What thing spoke to you?
I mean, that wasn't my favourite.
That's your favourite bit.
Okay.
It's the Live Aid sequence, which is... It's the bit where this movie like really comes alive, and it is the very end, and it's like the movie is building to this sequence all the way through, and it's where like just there's an electricity to it. It just feels like the rest of that's not there in the movie. It's it's alive, and it's just really entertaining. It's basically like you forget you're watching a movie, and you're watching Live Aid. You're watching Queen at Wembley Stadium with thousands of people, and it's incredible.
It's like I purposely went back and watched the Live Aid performance afterwards because it like got to me so much.
Yeah.
But if you watch them side by side, which I couldn't because I was in the cinema and I'm not a pirate, and I wouldn't just watch things in the cinema.
People would.
I know, yeah. I've just really annoyed us with that. People would do that.
They would.
It's so everything that Rami Malek does as Freddie is absolutely spot on. It's like he's studied every single movement, and he's done it perfectly.
Yeah.
The direction adds something different to it because he didn't get those shots in the Live Aid performance. But it's unreal. Like I think it's the best live music performance sequence I've seen in any film ever.
Yeah.
It might be the best musical sequence. Maybe.
Yeah, it's the way like you've got Freddie Mercury commanding the crowd, while you've got Rami Malek commanding the screen.
Yeah.
And it's just
It's clever imagery.
Well, they've done parallels.
It's a good one.
So what are your guys' overall thoughts on the film? Is there anything else that you think needs addressing that wasn't addressed? Like what things do you have to say about this movie that people need to know?
It's it's hard to say that it's great.
Because it's not.
Because it's not, but it's really entertaining.
It is.
It's like, it's far more wholesome than it should be. It's not really the story you would want to watch if you were going in as a Queen fan. As anybody but a diehard Queen fan.
Yeah.
For Queen fans, it is like putting on the greatest hits and like reliving and celebrating Freddie Mercury and stuff like that. But
so if you weren't a fan, it probably wouldn't resonate with you as much as...
Probably not. It does talk about some of the important parts of his life, his sexuality, his... it very, very briefly talks about substance abuse in that. You see some cocaine on the table once, and that's about it. Freddie's illness is sort of...
It's right at the end.
Skirted around completely. And it makes a villain of his manager, who I've forgotten the name of again.
Yes.
Who is very good. His performance is very good. The Irish guy from Downton Abbey, who I should have remembered the name of too. But that's purely incidental. It has all of these really good little moments, but there's a lot of things where you're like, oh, I wish they'd gone down that avenue a little bit more, or they'd told that side of the story a bit more. And God bless them. I wish Brian May and Roger Taylor were not involved in the film at all, because and the only thing I wanted them to do was to choose the actors that were playing them, because that was spot on. Yeah. The guy playing Brian May looks like it's Brian May. It's like, I don't understand how two people can exist that look exactly the same and aren't twins.
Cloning.
Roger Taylor has cast Ben Hardy, who's
he's cast like the idealised version of himself.
He doesn't look like him. That's what Roger Taylor thinks Roger Taylor looks like. And John Deakins is Joe Mazzallo, I think you pronounce it, who was Tim from Jurassic Park. The child.
Good.
So that's good, and he's really good as well. He obviously wasn't as involved in the production as those two, because he gets a little bit of a rough ride as well.
Boring,
he's like they present him as a bit of a clown, and he has astounding hair.
That's good.
But yeah, I think it is a film where you're watching it and you're seeing like two films, and there's the one that's made and the one you wish they'd made.
Yeah.
And the thing is, if they'd made the one that goes a bit darker and goes more into Freddie Mercury's life and more into his sexuality and all that kind of stuff, I don't think it would be as much of the crowd pleaser that it is.
No, it wouldn't have made as much money.
But it would have been a better film.
Yeah.
And it's like, if we go back to the Sacha Baron Cohen thing, I think that would have been a better film. But I don't think he would have gave as good a performance as Rami Malek. So.
I don't think so either. It's interesting to think about what... Obviously, the background... There's a bit more of background to this film that we haven't talked about. That Bryan Singer was the director and then was fired or left or something, partly because him and Rami Malek apparently fell out really badly.
Yeah.
And Malek didn't want to work with him anymore and told Uncle Brian. Brian said, okay, I'll sort it out for you. And got Dexter Fletcher in, who is an odd choice.
But he's doing
Elton John as well, yeah.
So.
I wonder whether they knew he was going to do that and then hired him, or he got that off the back of this. I don't really...
It must have been... I don't know. But
Rocketman's been in production for quite a while.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, Dexter Fletcher doesn't even get a director's credit. He gets nothing.
Oh.
So it's interesting to think whether this is the same film that Bryan Singer was going to make.
Yeah.
Wait, you mean Bryan Singer doesn't get a director's credit?
No, Dexter Fletcher doesn't.
Really?
Yeah, he gets nothing.
So it's credited as Bryan Singer?
Yeah.
Yeah, Fox are clamouring for him to get an Oscar at the moment, is what's come up if you do a little, Bryan Singer, Bohemian Rhapsody. They're all like, well, we should get an Oscar.
An Oscar?
He should get an Otter. Someone should give him an Otter.
That would be nice.
Yeah, and also an Oscar.
Yeah.
Do you guys think that it's Oscar worthy? Like, I know we mentioned it briefly, but...
Rami Malek.
Malek is, yeah. The rest of the film,
some of the production, maybe.
Yeah.
It might get costumes, but then that's because Freddie Mercury used to wear really good costumes. Yeah. So it would be him that was getting the Oscar. So, I don't think the direction is worthy of it, to be honest.
Yeah.
There's some bits where you can see what they're doing. So you see Freddie Mercury reflected in loads and loads of glass or in mirrors, and it's a thing that they're doing.
Yeah.
But they never explain why. It seems to be that's the shot that Bryan Singer wants to do.
Yeah.
And there's a bit where obviously he wanted it to cost more money, so he does CGI swoop shots. So there's one through the tour bus that's completely unnecessary.
Yeah.
That probably cost a lot of money. There's one through the piano on the Live Aid sequence, which is all right, but it doesn't really add anything. But it's like that's the director trying to say this is why I'm doing this film. And Dexter Fletcher's not. But then Dexter Fletcher did it anyway.
So, have we ruined this film for you, Ash?
I am not sure. From hearing all your things about it sounds like a very mixed sort of film. I'm excited to see Rami Malek.
Yeah.
That's the
Yes.
thing.
Go and watch it for that, definitely.
Yeah.
And for the cockerel.
Yeah, for the
If nothing else.
Jesus Christ. No, I'm not sure if it's something I would have clamoured to the cinema to see initially. I like Queen, but I've never been like a big Queen fan. But I'm just interested to see how they've played it.
I am a big Queen.
But knowing that there's like a duality between what's on screen and what's actually happened, I think that'll make it a lot more interesting to go into whilst watching. Definitely.
Yes.
Just as like a closing question for this, now that the Queen, not Freddie Mercury movie, the Queen movie has happened, what sort of doors do you think or hope it would open for other bands or singers to have these sort of treatment? Like, what would you?
Well, actually, the Elton John film should be really good because
Yeah.
his story is good. It's as whether they make the right film in that case as well, because the best way to make a film about a musician is after the musician's dead. Let's be honest, because you don't have to answer to them. Elton John is not dead, so
Yeah.
I would really, really like to see and write myself The Story of Rumours by Fleetwood Mac, which would be the greatest film of all time,
That'd be
especially
a
if
good
I wrote
soundtrack.
it.
Yeah.
So nobody steal my idea.
Well, excellent. Bohemian Rhapsody, good and bad. Rami Malek, very good.
Yeah.
Very good. Cockerels,
Cockerel,
very good.
Very good. Bad Bryan Singer mix-up director thing. Some bad scooping over of things, but overall it seems all
Yeah,
right.
it's
It
good.
seems
It's-
worth going to see.
It's definitely
It's very entertaining.
Yeah.
So,
And
yeah.
that's why it's making so much money.
Yeah.
The entertainment factor is why it's made an absolute bucket load.
Yeah, I think
Bucket load.
general audiences are going to have a really good time.
They are.
And that's what you want from
And
cinema.
it'll put Queen songs back in Spotify
Always good.
top 100.
Always good.
Yeah.
Well, no, that's everything from Bohemian Rhapsody. Done a little review, done a little talk.
Oh,
Thank
don't
you.
stop me now.
Whoa, Jesus!
Come on.
I've been waiting 20 minutes for that joke.
Come on.
Oh,
This
right.
is where I sit
So
and think about Queen puns now.
I've been Ash,
I've been James.
I was Simon.
and another pod bites the dust.